Welcome to NFT Rebels, the podcast where technology, creativity, education, and non-fungible experiences meet each other. It's me, Annie Alexander, and in each episode, me and the Rebels will have a real unscripted talk, share genuine opinions, and show raw emotions. Should we start? Hello everyone, and welcome to the NFT Rebels. It's us again, as promised. I promised everyone that I'm going to be more regular with this and do it more often because I've been slacking recently. But it's a new year, new kind of resolution. So I'm going to keep the track on that, and we'll be meeting at least once a week. So we're back. I'm having awesome artists, and based on the tweet that we put out before we started, it was very good engagement. People were actually looking forward to hear from you. So Rick is in the studio. Rick, let me try Oostenbroek.
Almost. Rick
Almost.
Oostenbroek.
Yeah.
Rick Oostenbroek it is.
You
It's
do it
always
so
hard
much
for
better.
people.
I'll just leave it to you. Sorry for butchering it. Welcome. I'm really happy that you found the time to come over. I really appreciate that. So the backstory of, I know many people are curious in terms of, how do you choose your guests? And it's very, very rare that I pick anyone who kind of pitches or, someone who writes and asks to be on the podcast. What usually happens is because I'm on Twitter and I'm engaged with the NFT community a lot, I just notice the people whose art do I like, or whose Twitter accounts do I like, whose personalities I like, and who I think have interesting stories to tell. And then, very often, like in your case, if we're not connected, I would just, send a DM, and then, if I'm getting a reply, fine. If no, I just move on. So Rick replied, and here we are. So I'm very happy. I really love your art, and I think we've got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, thank you. Can I share the link on Twitter like for a second so all
Of
my
course.
followers know about it? Because I promised like lots of people. I have an awesome Discord and everybody's like, "Yo, when is it live?" Um, sorry for this is so I'm on your profile right now. How does this work?
If you're you should see on the tweet just below my pinned tweet. I will
Oh,
put.
it's
Let me
below.
pin that
Yeah,
one so
yeah,
you can
yeah,
just.
yeah.
Yeah, now it's my
I
pinned
see
tweet.
myself.
So,
I see myself. That's awesome.
yeah.
Let me also do a quote tweet. Boom. We live. Awesome. Thank you so much. Like, yeah, this shows how much of a noob I am in technology, actually.
No,
um,
it's just, yeah. I mean, you do it once or twice, and that's it. It just happens. It's fine. And
yeah,
most of the people are doing Twitter Spaces these days, so it's kind of, it's
that
that's
it
where
was
many
it
are.
was Clubhouse when I entered the space. Actually, like,
Yeah, true. I was on Clubhouse I think in October or November when it was just launching, and it was invite only, and it was pretty close space. And then eventually at one, and it was very, very good experience, really nice crowd, very, very pleasant conversations. And then at one point they grew really fast, and the quality dropped of everything, like of the people, of the conversations. You had to look for a good room for a very long time. So
yeah,
eventually I just gave up, and I think most of the people actually moved from Clubhouse to Twitter Spaces
to
these
Twitter
days anyway.
Spaces.
So yeah, so that's kind of, where it is. Okay,
Interesting.
so did you share the
Yeah.
link? All good?
Yeah, I did. I did share the link, not in my Discord yet, but I did on Twitter. And if people should just that should be fine. They'll be
Okay,
watching,
cool.
hopefully.
Cool. So yeah, so I guess we should start from the beginning. I know that you're
Yeah.
not like new to actually creating art, and you've been there for a long, long time. And then eventually at one point, like I know that I don't know what is long time for the NFT space. So how long have you been in the NFT space, and what was your journey like? How did you discover that?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Of course, like I've been doing digital art for about 18 years already, which is
Wow.
crazy looking back. Like starting from with Photoshop and just as a hobby because like I wasn't the most ideal kid to my parents, and I smoked a lot of weed back then. And all like every time I was high, I was just like creating random stuff. But long story short, I think I discovered it through people actually end of 2020
Mhm.
because like yeah, Mike and I like we're like yeah we know each other. We actually had beers like right before COVID in Amsterdam, and I
Yeah.
saw him like this crypto art thing, and I was like, yo, what is this stuff? Because like I have no crypto knowledge at all, so I was a
Mhm.
little bit skeptical about it. And at the same time, like my lady was pregnant, we were expecting in January,
Yeah.
so I had lots of other things to do. So it was in the back of my head for quite a bit, but it wasn't till February 2021 that I really joined and minted my first NFT on Super Rare. But looking back, like I was just like not responding to all those emails because Super Rare actually already sent me a DM on like October 2020. And I simply ignored all that because I had one focus, and that was like working my ass off for client work, so I could like have enough time off when the baby arrived. So that was
Yeah.
my freelance creative life basically about. Um, so yeah, that was it was like in February that it all started for me, and yeah, ever since a lot happened.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine it's a roller coaster and things move so
Yeah,
fast that, February
yeah,
feels like ages ago, right? It's kind of, it's a very long time
definitely.
for NFT space.
Definitely. And the thing that was good, I think, like for me personally, like I've been analyzing like Twitter ever since December, January, to figure out like what it's all about. Like I follow like my artist friends from like I didn't touch Twitter for about 7 years or so. And I still had some followers and people I was following, and mainly like my entire Twitter feed was NFT related. So I've
Yeah.
been kind of like touching base with my old design friends and like, yo, what's this? What it's about? What are those numbers? Because like, what is Ethereum in general? Like, I
Yeah.
really had no clue, and I was so lost in the beginning, and I didn't know where to start. So what I did was simply watching what was happening, and not like very obsessively watching like
Mm,
watching YouTube stuff about it, but just like touching base with the people that were already in it
yeah.
and how it works. Like what's the deal? Because this was so special for digital art, and once you've been into digital art like ever since 2004, you don't want to miss out. Like that was the real FOMO moment kicking in for me. Um, but yeah, it was very useful for me that fellow artists were already in there, like they were already in the space and they understood more of it than I did myself. So yeah, I just touched base with my old homies and just learn from them.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, from many artists I spoke with, those who were doing like freelance jobs, it's kind of, I think the beauty of this space is that they get their creative freedom and they are not following a
Yeah,
brief and they don't have limitations anymore, so they can kind of completely show themselves and show them what they are about and do what they actually want to do versus what they are kind of, asked to do, right? So, did you feel like, by getting into this space, you had this opportunity to finally sort of, focus on mostly on the things that you like doing? That is kind of, the style that is mostly what you are comfortable with.
yeah. Well, the thing is right like before this, ever since 2016, I think I already had the situation where my personal work was like the only stuff I uploaded back then on either Instagram, Behance, or my portfolio. So in a way, clients already hired me for my personal brand, sort of. So I was already like quite confident with my creative direction, and the clients that hire me. Of course, you have those hard moments where they give feedback, but the main difference to me was that you're not like a tool. Like like a tool for a client anymore, and you're more of an artist, like an artist that could be in a museum, or an artist that creates a sculpture and just creates a piece of art without like any brands or whatever attached to it, and it has value. And for me, that was the main thing, that I never felt seen as an artist and as a digital creator. Like it was impossible to get recognition for what you did. Although we were all out there like for years. Like look at all the amazing advertising that's been done, like crazy pieces of art. Look at what MTV has been doing for years with those little bumpers. It was all digital art, and those were the things that triggered me. But it was never valued as art.
Yeah.
Same as the entire meme culture. In fact, like that's like so many people enjoyed it. Like compared to the people that go to a museum, like this art is right at our fingertips. And my main clients were mainly like tech brands that hired me to do their wallpapers. But imagine like how many people had access to that kind of art. Like every phone you buy, every device in general you buy has digital art on it, and it never really it's never like people didn't realize that there's like a craft behind it, or well, the normal people, let's say it like that. So
Yeah.
that's always been a frustrating thing for me, like being in this field for so long, and no one like I didn't really felt valued for what I did, or valued as an artist. Like, oh yeah, you use your computer to do this, so it's not art. Like
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
that was that was like you're cheating. Like, come on, people. Like,
Yeah,
so
no,
yeah,
I get what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, I can kind of, imagine what were the comments about this. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And I even competed in some local art competitions and stuff. And like people like, although the fellow artists and the traditional art really liked what I was doing, but like the judges and the elderly people that like they don't get it.
Mm,
Like, so it
yeah.
was always a bit weird, and like, yeah, under the radar, I wouldn't say, because it was all over the place. But it's like it's amazing that there's an opportunity, that it's seen as art nowadays, and that you get value for it. And I'm not even like talking the money, but that people want to collect it in general. Like, yo, I
Hmm.
want this piece of art so badly, and I want to
Yeah.
give this and that for it, or I want to trade this or that for it. It's like that's amazing, and it's a
Yeah.
great dynamic.
No, it
um
is.
yeah.
It is. Before getting to the main topic, since you mentioned like frustrations, since you mentioned the wallpapers, and that side of that part of your life, I just saw one of your tweets talking about Apple and one of your
Oh,
imagery and that situation. So I just thought that it was an interesting kind of thing to mention,
oh, stop
because
it.
no, you don't want to go there.
No, no, no. I want to go there. It's fine, but yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, so basically, I don't know. I mean, it was just so in line with not being valued kind of side of
yeah,
things, and
yeah.
it was so in line with what the NFT technology is helping artists at the moment by proving the authorship, proving the
True.
authenticity, just tracking back kind of, and looking where it came from, how it was born,
Yeah,
when exactly, and stuff like that. So I thought, like,
yeah.
maybe that's kind of the angle you can talk about it from
Oh
that
yeah, no.
perspective, that if
I
it
I,
was an
I would.
NFT, it wouldn't happen, right?
Of course, but that's like, yeah, that goes way back, and it's just like within this digital space, like, that's a whole different story. I want to start right now. I'm not gonna do it. No, yeah, I mean, like once you create, like everybody has the same tools, right? Like you can download the software, and I'm using the same software as people, and whoever is using the same software as me. So in fact, like it's not that like um, you have very different assets, like in the 1500s when people were like craving to make their paint and do all special techniques, blah blah blah. So everybody has the same toolbox basically. What I always try, like when I'm working, can I close the door first? My cat opened the door. I'm
Sure.
sorry. That's very weird. Like he's um, no, but yeah, that's and what happened with me is that I always try to think in styles. Like I'm not necessarily thinking per artwork, but I just want to be original and create something that isn't out there yet. Of course, being inspired by things that are already out there, but blend them together into something new. And what happened with this was like a lot went down. Lots of companies liked the work, but never hired me for it because of the lack of research, the lack of curation on both like company levels. Like you can have an intern. I had one situation where a big agency had an intern, and that intern literally stole my work and gave it to the art directors. Like he photoshopped them a little bit, manipulated a little bit, and the art director doesn't even know like where it originally came from. So ending up like my work was literally like in the streets of Singapore and Tokyo and Israel even, and I got photos like, dude, that's your work. And I'm like, yeah, that's my work, but I didn't make it. Um, but like right now, like to add like to add it to the blockchain definitely adds more value to originality for me as well. Like you go back to the source, but at the same time, like ever since I upload my collection on OpenSea, for instance, like already like 8 fake collections with exactly same exactly same artworks pop up. So I think in general, like once you create something successful, people try to jump on that train, and I'm
Yeah.
more I think like successful in terms of like either likes or money or whatever. Like you create a success formula, and what happens is that people, yeah, they FOMO the shit out of it. Like let's say it so and think like, yo, that's cool. I want to try it as well, but
Mm.
I mean, like as an artist, you can't really like. I think you can't own a style. You can be the first one for sure, but like in everything, like Van Gogh was not the first guy working with paint or whatever. Like he like it's a thin line, but the blockchain like really rewarded me in a sense that yo, this is an original now. Like you can tokenize your stuff as the originals, and that certainly adds value for me. But at the same time, like those Apple moments, that was like, that was so fucked up. Like imagine being that 50 or what was I, 25-year-old kid, and like my main goal was to be like on a wallpaper of an Apple device. Like that's where you're working for. That's your dream gig, and then all of a sudden you see this stock image by someone from Belarus made like a year after you released your collection or your series like online on Instagram and on Behance, and you're like, you're devastated. Like that
Yeah.
literally like you're devastated. And I'm not sure if the NFT space will stop that. Like, but I feel like right now there are way more eyes on the artists themselves. Like when you're a top tier artist, like more and more people know you. Like first it was just like the creative crowd that knows you, but right now like within the NFT space, you have multiple people that are interested. Like they're either kids that try to figure out what to do with their life. They're into technology. They're into crypto, like crypto OGs and whatnot. So your
Yeah.
community gets bigger and bigger. So I think that also will solve the problem a little bit. Like
Hmm.
I had those guys on a Solana platform, and they were like, "Yo, Rick, I had a voicemail. I'm super busy with a campaign, and I had a voicemail in, and it was like." Yo, Rick, really love your work, blah 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 blah, and we want to work with you. So I didn't have time to respond, and then a week later they upload like this image that's like a complete like not a complete one-on-one rip-off, but you notice like everybody's like, yo, Rick, did you do this? And that's like so
Mm.
weird that
Yeah.
that still happens. And in fact, like I see more and more uh, blockchain companies right now trying to adopt or mimic my style a little bit, so they can just hit me up and maybe I want to work with them.
There
But
is, yeah, I mean, there is a fine line. Like, how much do you need to modify for it to be considered like not a ripoff, right? Like, not a copy,
yeah,
identical copy. Like, there are so many derivative projects
yeah.
from the punks and bored apes and
Oh,
etc.
yeah,
And
yeah,
where you just flip the side, or when you change the pixelization, or do a
yeah,
tiny thing, and then it becomes like a whole collection. And so it's very, very difficult to kind of get that,
yeah,
especially with there is no clear legislation. There isn't really any benchmark where it's up to the person to kind of feel how much is too
Exactly.
little, right?
It's up to the community if they fuck with it
Yeah,
or not. And what I see right now, like how many ape kind of related projects you see pop up on a daily basis. And I'm
yeah,
I'm pretty skeptical about it because like again, like whatever a success formula has been done is like it's always like people are jumping on the same train and trying to do the same thing. Like if you
yeah. But
imagine like
people get immune to it as well, right? Like it becomes
yeah,
boring. It's the same thing over and over again. Like why should
yeah,
I just buy a fourth or fifth version of the Bored Apes collection kind of thing, right?
exactly.
It's just yeah.
And that's really what I don't get. And like I think it's also like an educational thing within this space because I see the space growing. Like I really talk a lot with my collectors and stuff and try to learn from them, but like some of them have no clue like what is art. Like art in general. They just collect
Yeah.
whatever, you know, like they don't care. Like some are in it for the investing
Yeah,
side and
the
once
floor
some like
price and the flipping, and yeah, that
yeah,
side of the story, which is another side of the whole industry, right?
it's
It
fun.
has
It's
its place.
fun.
Yeah,
And at the same time, like I barely see like one-on-ones are always slow, and I totally get that because they're not easy to sell like on secondary. Like a PFP is like there's so much activity over those like
yeah,
whatever project, and it's crazy how much ETH goes into that like on a daily base. And I get
yeah,
it. Like if I was this like still this 15-year-old smoking weed kind of kid, I would rather buy like a PFP instead of a one-on-one piece of art. But it's cool that
yeah.
some people really value the art for what it is, and some are in it for the flip.
Yeah, it's different things. Like I also know people who kind of collect both for two different purposes, so that happens as
Yeah,
well. But going back to our like initial topic, which is the brand thing, I
yeah,
think it's I had Twitter Spaces a few days ago, more or less about this, and we were discussing the fact that in this space it's going to be very very hard for someone who wants to remain a ghost, doesn't want to be very active
yeah,
on social media and doesn't want to engage with the community and just wants to create art. It's going to be very tough for that person because it feels like people want the artist as well as part of the package. And creating that personal brand is a challenge because with the time the market becomes saturated and it's harder
yeah,
to, when you're just starting getting into the space, it's harder to get the initial attention, to get the initial traction, etc., etc. So for someone who's just getting in, like what are the things that they have to consider in terms of like where to start? Obviously the steeping learning curve in terms of how it all works, what is Ethereum and all that stuff, it's another
yeah.
story. But in terms of how to present themselves, how to create that recognizable artist brand, where should they start basically?
Well, I think in general, like in the end, it's always about the work. Like I get like the personal part right here within the space. Like back in the Instagram days, it was all about that image you upload and that's it. Like you got a certain amount of likes in it. There was no interaction on that platform. Twitter, however, feels so different and so organic, and like I'm quite a chattable person that I like to sit on my phone on dull moments. I'm also a cigarette smoker, sorry for that. But once I'm smoking a cigarette, I'm just like checking out Discord, checking Twitter. Like I really like the interaction with like fellow passionate people that are all believing in the entire NFT thing. You know, like I really like that. I like to learn from them, and I think that's something like I've been that tunnel artist as well. I was just like going straight ahead in my own tunnel, and I mean like for me like there's never been a strategy behind like
Hmm.
how I am on Twitter or Instagram, for example. Like I just be me. Like it's always about the work. Like I like to create colorful shit, but I'm also not gonna pretend that I'm a super serious guy who takes himself like crazy serious. Like you see like
Hmm.
all those like artists that are like, oh yeah, no, I don't know,
Ego
like you
stuff.
have
Okay. Yeah.
that kind of crap, and like I'm like I'm the same person you'll meet, like I'm the same person on Twitter like the person you'll meet in a bar or something like that.
Yeah.
Especially if we can talk about the craft. So I think like the personal approach is quite important, and what's also important is like where does your like where does your work come from? Where is it originated from? Like what's been the process behind, like if even if it's like a specific piece of art or your entire like uh, what is it, biography of work. I think it's really important to be transparent,
Hmm.
and be personal, and like yeah, I actually like I've my entire art stuff kind of like came out of a depression. Like I was kind of like expressing myself through art, and that's where it all started. And on Instagram or whatever, like I would never open up about that, but I actually did, and it was amazing how people responded and actually DM me like, "Yo, dude, I fucking
Hmm.
love that you're open about that." And I feel like that personal touch is important, and it's not necessarily like activity driven. As on Instagram, you need to post like a shit ton before people even see you pop up, your work pop up in their feed. But I think like engaging and being interested in people, and it's crazy like how many cool artists I've met throughout this space, and
Hmm.
just randomly, like even
Yeah.
in a thread of some other guy, or you stumble upon someone's
Yeah.
work and you just say, "Yo, dude, I fucking love this," and he's responding like, "Yo, I love your work as well," and they're like, "Yeah, let's collaborate, yeah, let's go." And I mean, like that's
Yeah.
kind of like the
That's the beauty
personal
of this
vibe.
space. Yeah. Yeah. That's.
It's dynamic. It's super dynamic and it's organic. And like once you just follow that Instagram like philosophy by just posting an image and not interact with anyone, like I think you're gonna have a real hard time. But once again, like it's not a must to be. I think like once the work is like stellar and it's so fucking unique, like you'll always sell your work.
You're gonna stand
You,
out. Yeah.
yeah, and you also need the right people to believe in you and your work. That's
Yeah.
also a network kind of thing. So
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. And it's interesting you mentioned depression because your art is so colorful that,
yeah.
I wouldn't like you're not making dark art, right? Which
No,
is
no,
like
no.
it doesn't have this vibe of pain or anything. So when you mention that, it's like to me, it's a surprise. Like I wouldn't really kind of, think about it.
It's more or
Uh,
less like for me it's like an outlet, and what my work embraces is like all the beauty I see around me. So it could be like
mm,
I'm inspired by things I find beautiful, and everything I find beautiful I try to blend that within my work, and it could be like a sunset or a water ripple or even like an old album cover or whatever. Like when I'm connected to that moment, like I try to replicate that within my work. So I try to create something like I'm dreaming of. So
mm,
um, that's basically how it started, like creating my own sort of positive world,
yeah,
which sounds very hippie-ish, but it's not like that. But yeah, I try to create beauty, and everything I create is inspired by stuff I find beautiful, no matter
yeah.
what.
No, and it is very beautiful. It's like one it's from those kind of art types where you want to look at it for a long time, right? And then come back and look at it again kind of thing. So it's that's how I feel about it. It's like it's really kind of I don't know if it's like the beauty side of it or like the overall kind of effect that it has, but you just want to come back and look at it again and again.
Yeah,
That's how I feel about
yeah.
it.
Yeah, but thank you for that. Like my work is very abstract, and that's also something I was quite afraid of, like entering the NFT space. Like, do people understand it? This can they resonate with it? Because like before, your crowd, like on Instagram and everybody you work with or whatever, they're all like fellow creatives, and this is such a different type of
Yeah.
people
It's
you're
more kind
speaking
of
to.
mass market, like it's
Yeah,
more yeah.
and they are not like the people from HP where I'm working with for over years because they believe in my craft. Like they like it's simply just like colors and forms, and what does that mean to people? Like do
Yeah.
people resonate with that? Like so I think it's also good to explain like what you're about and your process, and that's something I really learned within this space, because usually I just like type something random on Instagram and some hashtags and
Hmm.
blah blah blah. And right now,
Yeah.
I feel like, but it's also interesting for yourself to dive deeper into the meaning of your work. That's something I was amazed with. Like I can
Yeah.
literally go back in time right now and know when I created that piece, and create, like looking at that piece, I can name the moment that triggered me to create it, and that's quite amazing. And so I try
Yeah.
to also explain that to the people that yeah, look into, like,
Yeah,
on
I
my Twitter
think
feed.
the backstories of the pieces are always interesting. Like,
Yeah,
how was it born, what triggered it, and everything else. It's like it's a story around it, which and people love stories, right? So you mentioned
yeah,
like being yourself and being the way you are in real life on your kind of NFT artist personality and socials. And what I'm hearing from what you're saying is you're also kind of, true to who you are and what you love creating and how you
yeah,
like doing things in your art, which
yeah,
is very often I'm getting this question from people saying, oh, you know what? My art is very different, or my art may be a bit weird. People might not like it. Should I change my style? And I'm like, no, never. Don't touch it. Just be yourself. So I think it's very
yeah.
important that you mentioned that. Like, how do you feel about sort of, even if it's not something that is kind of, very common, and for sure that this is the type of things that people like, should you modify your style, or like,
No, no,
how?
no, no, not at all. I think like what I saw when entering the NFT space, everybody was like, "Yo, dude, you should do like the Ethereum logo and some 3D shit around it, and people will
Yeah,
love it." And I'm like, "Why? Yeah, because it
Pepe
sells."
frogs and
Yeah,
and stuff
Pepe,
like that.
PP, or
Yeah,
whatever. Like, and like modifying his style, like you started that style for a reason, so why step away from it? Like, okay, I change like my workflow every now and then as well, because I'm a perfectionist, but I'm always building onto like the same thing, kind of like colorful abstract stuff. And like, why changing his style? Like, you'll change it to sell it. So are you true to yourself? Even if you sell that piece, like, oh yeah, oh nice, I got some Ethereum right now, but would you be happy with like that collector that has a piece of yours that's not even like 100% you, like
yeah,
that's what I'm wondering. Like, and I get it. Like, I also had like my unsold pieces for like online for about 8 weeks or so, and it was like on a reserve, and all of a sudden like that reserve got hit, and then it turned into a bit more. Like, it's super unpredictable, and it's also not about the following count or whatever. Like, the right people need to follow you. Like, the right people, like the
yeah.
right person needs to stumble upon your work and needs to resonate with it. And like, you can't force that. Like, there's no way you can force people to buy your art in any way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you. How do you deal with like the obviously now you don't have that issue because like, you're already known and you have that audience in place, but when people are usually just starting looking at the Twitter algorithm, you don't really get that minimum traction that is needed to sort of push your tweet further and have more people see it and kind of get the initial engagement in place if you're just starting. Like, what is the strategy? It's just keeping on
I
doing
don't
and
I
going
don't
on,
I don't
or
know. For
you're
me,
just
it's just like, I never watch algorithms. Like, I never watch like the stats of a post I
stats?
post.
Okay.
No, I never check that. Like, what I try, like, I just share my work, and even if it's made yesterday or a couple of years ago, if that's like the right moment for me, and I still like the work, I put it out there, and I just post it, just like to show what I'm about. Like, because I am my
Yeah.
work, like, I'm a super obsessive perfectionist regarding like
Mm,
my work and everything.
yeah.
Work is like, creating is everything for me. So that's what I share, and I think like, I mean, like, you all have to start somewhere, and I started creating without like any tutorials online, and there was no strategy or purpose behind it. So why,
Mm,
like, I feel like it's getting like, plus like mentally, it's not too healthy to
yeah.
focus on like selling and metrics and algorithms and stuff. Like, you got to be patient, and of course, like, for me, it's easier to say right now, but at the same time, like, I never saw this as an income, which is
Yeah.
weird maybe
Which
because I
is why it
already
became income, maybe.
yeah, but like I
Yeah.
just like the core was always like creating, and I already managed to make like a successful career out of like being a freelance artist and like or working for client artists like
Yeah.
so yeah, I think like don't force it too much because like I also had like those stressed out moments and you're like doubting yourself when something doesn't sell and you see like a tweet from like a fellow artist and you actually hate this person's work and you see him selling and you're like, yo, why does
Yeah.
nobody
Yeah.
want me? And you start being insecure and stuff. And
Yeah.
especially because I take it really slow on purpose. Like I think I minted 6 pieces and then the collection of like 40 pieces in like a year. But
Mm.
yeah, I rather stay rare and be patient instead of like forcing myself like to either lower my prices or
Mm-hmm.
like not staying like not getting the value I value in it. So, but that's a risky strategy, I think, and you need to be patient for that.
Yeah, I think it's a very good point because the interesting thing is, and it's not probably only in this industry, but in usually somehow like we get this impression about overnight success, right? We see these big numbers, we
Yeah,
see these artists, no one really looks behind it, and no one really understands that people has been creating for tens of years daily, just grinding until this happened.
yeah,
Everyone
yeah,
saw just that auction and everyone saw the 69 million, right? That's what people were focusing on. Like, you don't really look into what it actually takes, because and I think that it's subconsciously done on purpose. Like, people don't realize it, but it's done on purpose, because if you actually imagine and realize how much work and how much patience and how much effort it actually takes, you may give up right away, from the
yeah.
very
This
beginning.
guy like people has a family, like he has kids and stuff. And still, like every holiday or every birthday or every day he was traveling, he's been working for at least an hour to get like a daily piece done. That's true dedication. Like
Yeah, it is.
that's really dedication. Like you got to be super dedicated. And I think like what I see right now that you kind of like see all those UX designers or people that gave up on digital art ages ago. They enter the space like back, but they're behind, and that's fine. Like, but they gotta accept that
Yeah.
that they're not like that. Being the next people is gonna take some time, and I
Yeah.
mean, like I got so much respect for Mike in that sense that he's been dedicated, and people are just like, oh yeah, somebody buys a JPEG for what was it, 96,
Yeah.
69 million,
No, no,
and
no. It's
that's like
it's it's hard work. It's a
yeah.
lot of dedication, and it's kind of,
And probably like also like you're he's like also for me like we started out and there was no perception that you could even make money with doing this type of art, right? We were no
yeah.
painters, we were never gonna be at an auction house or whatever. There was never
Uh,
um
I remember at one point, people's pieces were at $1, right? He had
yeah,
like, times when he was kind of not giving away, but like selling his pieces for $1 each,
yeah,
from his daily collection, right?
yeah,
So it's, you know that it wasn't about money. And I think it's interesting you mentioned the money aspect, because I feel like very often the more people I talk to, I realize that it feels like whenever the money is the end goal or the main purpose and the main
yeah,
spotlight, people
you'll get
force it,
fucked.
and it never happened. And usually when it's something else, the money comes as an after effect. So
Yeah.
it's kind of, it does happen, but it's not like what you were going for. It just happens as a
No,
result of everything else. Yeah.
and at the same time, like I also speak with artists and they barely communicate with their collectors. And I think like collectors are so important within this space and they believe in you. So what I tend to do with my collectors, especially with my day one Austrian hero, Tibike, he collected my first 3 pieces on super rare. But ever since, like we've been chatting daily. Like I can learn from him and he can learn from me, and I'm not seeing him as like a guy who randomly threw money at me and then just like, yo, later. Like that's not
Yeah.
the vibe. Like I think it's so important. Like you build this together, and you want to give also like the value back to, like, that's maybe I care a little bit too much about that, like to, about my collectors, but I care way more that about the fact that my collectors get their value for believing in me, instead of like I'm
Yeah.
making like the money, you know, like.
Yeah, yeah.
And
No, I mean, relationship building is very, very important because, like,
yeah,
yes, they are numbers. Yes, they are like number of collectors, but behind each
yeah,
number, there is a human being, right? And,
exactly.
it's just you can look at the stats and you can look at your sales numbers or, your floor price or whatever it is.
Yeah,
Eventually, when you look deeper behind each number, there are people, like real
yeah,
human beings.
yeah.
And yeah, and probably, just I'm sure like sending them a short message now and then does not will take too much of your time, but it makes them feel special, and it's a
Yeah, but
big
it's
deal.
also like that. It's not like even treating them as special human beings, but it's for your growth as an artist. Like you're an artist. Like you're not a crypto native. You're not, like, for me. Like I'm speaking from my personal POV. Like
Yeah.
I don't know anything. Like everything I learned. Like okay, from my old digital art homies, but ever since March, all the things I learned are because of my collectors. But
Mm.
that goes both ways. Like some collectors of mine bought like shitty art, and I'm like, yo, dude, that's pure stock images. Like, why did you
Uh-huh.
download or bought this 3D Astro render stuff? And I'm like, that's like, it's an educational on both sides, and I think
Yeah.
that's what making this scene and movement very strong and organic as well. And yeah, all I try is like, I would be so fucking happy if there would be a collector of mine believing in me from day one, that could like get like whatever he invested in me like 5 times in the future. Like that I would be over the moon in that case.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally get that. I mean, since we're talking about the brand, obviously, like in this industry, it's very similar to other industries, right? Like, the brands that are already established, recognizable, like the artists that have a brand name, so to speak. Uh, Obviously, their prices go up as well because the demand increases, more people believe in
Yeah,
them, more people want to get their pieces and stuff like that. So the brand and the price point relationship is clear, it's straightforward, it's correlated.
yeah,
Do you think there is also a relationship between the price point and what your floor is, or how much volume you're making, or whatever it is, and your kind of perception of yourself as an artist, or your self-esteem, kind of self-doubt related stuff going on? Does it impact in any shape and form or not?
how do you mean, like if floor prices go down, that you
So,
start to
so
doubt
like,
yourself?
when you get to a certain point where you can charge
Yeah,
like high amounts, does it impact your self-confidence, or your perception or your value as an artist? Do you
I,
feel
I,
like,
I don't know. Like, yeah, of course you feel valued for what you do. I think that's the main thing. Like, you're seen as an artist, and people like pay crypto for your art, which is amazing. And the higher, of course, the more amazing that is. At the same time, I feel like the higher you get, like the more people eventually expect from you, right? Like,
mhm,
um, I,
so
I,
more
I
pressure?
kind of like you need to
Mm,
be able to deal with that as well. Like it's I can't imagine like how many, like there comes like a lot of side stuff into it, like
mm,
DMs from various people. You need to filter like all the emails you get, like DMs on Instagram. Like there are so, like once you sell well, like everybody wants a piece of you. Like everybody hits you up. Like I had the guy like, yo, I'm a young artist. Can you give me one of your pieces? It would be life changing. I'm like, yeah, like
why?
why? But all those kind of like, and that that
Yeah.
that could be like, that was what I was scared of by starting a Discord. Like I had many, like I launched my Arcus collection teaser, and it was like my Twitter blew up, and I had 7,000 followers within a day time, which was crazy. And my DMs, like I wasn't allowed by Twitter to DM anymore. because it was so
Oh, there
many
were so
DMs.
many. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And then you think like, oh fuck, what did I start? So there comes a lot of side stuff like looking into like once people believe in you,
Yeah.
because like you have people with several motives. You have people to make a quick buck. You have people that are true fans of yours. And with this collection, like all of a sudden people started to ask about like, yo, Rick, where's the Discord? And I'm like, Discord? What the fuck? Why do you want a Discord? Like, so I started that. And I still remember the moment I did that, and I didn't have any clue, and I just made a Discord for myself, blah blah blah, and everybody was typing in the announcements, and within a minute there were like 300 people in it, and I was like, holy fuck, like how to do, like, and that kind of stress level, like you have expectation, like people
Yeah.
and all of a sudden there were like 3,000 people in it, and then you raffle a piece of like for like 1.5 ETH, and like 1,300 people enter that raffle, and they are like, holy fuck, like this is not just making art, like this is
Yeah.
weird. Like,
Yeah, but I
um
think the beautiful thing is that it's organic, right? It's not
yeah,
like,
that's it.
you're not like, that's kind of, it comes naturally. These people actually want to be around you, or
Yeah,
want to be in your
yeah.
Discord. They do want to be part of the community. And I'm sure you're not, you haven't done it by shilling your art, because like you didn't have to.
No.
People already liked it, right?
No.
So
And it's in fact like it's just like there's no strategy behind anything I do or a marketing campaign or whatever. Like I'm just me, and that's it. Like I don't look at perfect post times for this or that, and I have my collectors to get some advice from. But in the end, it's just me. And right now, like it's amazing how this Discord is still alive. Like after my drop, and there are still like sometimes I wake up and there are like 50 messages from people that interact, like it's not me interacting,
between
but they're
themselves.
still, and they're there because like I started like this collection and stuff like that. And even like people buy shit from each other, like, yo, I
Yeah.
got this new piece, and then someone else Discord like, yo, dude, love it, like I bought it, and then like, holy shit, like that's so cool. And that's like, but yeah, a lot of like in the beginning I was like, holy shit, like what's happening, and
Yeah,
the
it
amount of
can be
messages and,
overwhelming. Yeah. I mean,
and
it's good I
brands.
messaged you when you could see my message actually. Otherwise
Yeah,
we
yeah,
wouldn't
yeah,
be
yeah.
speaking now.
No, that's so true. But yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of like it's different compared to the Instagram tunnel, and it's just like you creating work. But at the same time, like I really enjoy it. I enjoy the
Yeah.
community aspect a lot. Plus, like you see so many different kinds of art around, like art
Yeah.
you never mentioned, like, or you never even imagined that it would exist. And that could
Yeah.
be inspiring and triggering as well. Like this space is so much more has so much more variation to it compared to
Yeah.
like your Instagram curated. Like, so
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
cool.
I can get it. Once you get to a certain level where you are known, right? You get to like a level where more people know about you as an artist, know about your art, etc. Once you have a bigger audience on socials, etc., you get more attention, and sometimes, like, you get, I don't know, criticism, some, bad players, kind of FUD related things or whatever. It's normal, right? When once you get above a
Yeah.
certain level, that's what happens. How do you deal with that? Does it impact you in any
Ooh.
shape and form, or like, does it happen often?
I didn't had like very bad like accidents like under like the regarding my work or the NFT space yet. It happened that like I raffled a couple pieces, and it was more me that I was supposed to raffle even more. And at some point I was like, yo, dude, like I'm not gonna, like those pieces had like a 12 ETH bid on it, while the raffle price was like 2.5. So I was literally like, here you
Mm,
go. Like I draw a random number and you get 9 ETH from me. Like, that was a moment where I realized like maybe it would attract like people that are not there for the art. So what I did, like I changed plans, and that's what I do all the time. But you need to explain it why, and like the more personal the reason, the more people take it, I feel.
mhm.
But I didn't have like any FUD around me so far, so fingers crossed that will happen.
Yeah.
But I didn't have very bad experience, but of course there are people that expecting more. Like some collectors expect more from you than other collectors, and some are like,
Mm,
"Yo, dude, when are you gonna you're gonna bring your project, like you're gonna create something new again, or blah 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 blah, because we're waiting
mm,
for it, and maybe that will make my piece worth more and stuff like that." And
mm,
that's more like those kind of like you got to be immune to those like kind of like pressure points, I feel, but it's
yeah.
challenging and it's different, um, instead of just creating artwork, I feel. So yeah, definitely some pressure comes with it, and pressure comes with big sales, and more messages come with big sales, and you need to filter that out, and just pick your battles, and that's definitely what I'm going to do in 2022.
Yeah.
Just do whatever feels good and not worry too much about like the randoms. So
Mm,
I'm just discussing with a couple of my collectors where I'm close with, and talking with them on a daily basis over WhatsApp, over Twitter DMs or whatever, and that's how we're doing it, and I trust in them and they trust me. So I think that also makes it clear on when you have doubts regarding something, or somebody is asking you weird questions, you can always hit up like one of my collectors and like, yo, what does this guy want? Or what does it mean? Or
mm.
does this make any sense? So I'm bouncing off ideas and also some criticism, but I never had too much
Got it. That's good. Hope you won't get anything
criticism.
soon.
No.
So yeah, I mean, we're getting close to 1 hour. So if we would like kind of to conclude and wrap this up, like for me personally, from what I've heard so far, there are kind of three takeaways that I'm having, which is like be yourself, basically. Be yourself, be genuine, be authentic. The community aspect, like engage with your community, create relationships with your collectors. Basically, that's kind of the thing, and obviously, kind of create your art that is in line with you and is of a quality
Yeah.
that you're proud of, sort of thing.
Yeah,
Anything
and
else?
only post the work you're proud of as well. Like don't like what I do. Like I've been heavily curating my own work because I create like tons of work a day, or a week,
Mm,
or a month, and it's just like maybe I put like 5% out there on like on
yeah,
my socials, and maybe even like 0.5% of that gets minted in the end. And I think like looking like in 10 years, you need to look back at that piece you've minted, and you need to like you still need to resonate with it, or it needs to like at least like still connect with you, and that I think that's
not
super
cringe when
important.
you said,
No, but
yeah,
exactly. And that's
yeah, yeah,
like just make sure it's only the best of you, so you can be proud. Like you're not fucking over like you're
yeah,
not fucking over a collector, of course, but I always take like lots of time, even when I created a piece, to discuss with myself if I should mint it or not, and what the piece means to me,
yeah,
before I hand it over. Because like in the end, I care about like my best work needs to be on the blockchain and not my
yeah.
daily craft.
Yeah, it comes back to patience as well, right? Like, you can sort of take a bit more
It's
time to finalize it
Yeah,
because
it's
yeah,
it's not your Instagram feed, or it's not your sketchbook, or it's not your DeviantArt.
yeah,
Like this is serious shit, and that's my perception on it. And I'm quite a perfectionist when it comes to that. But I think it's so important that like
yeah,
it's always like quality over quantity in a sense, because I could have done my collection out of like 80 to 100 pieces in the end, but I've been like shortlisting a couple, ditching a couple, creating
yeah,
like two or three new ones, ditching them again. And I think that's like important, and don't rush that process. Like make sure
yeah,
like you only put out the best of you out there, because it's going to be there forever.
yeah.
And maybe like I don't want to look back in 10 years and say like, dude, why the fuck did you mint that? Like that's like no.
No, no, I
That's
get
not
it.
going
I
to be.
get it. Yeah, and
Yeah,
then just take your time. Like Hemingway was always
yeah.
saying like the first drafts of everything is shit. So just don't just draft something and immediately share it with everyone else.
Yeah, and
Just
and
because
like it's
yeah,
not bad to have something unsold for a while. Like it happens to all of us. Like that, and I think that happens to the best artists as well. Like, just
yeah.
don't fall into that FOMO hole.
Yeah, the FOMO and hype are always gonna tempt, but yeah,
Uh-huh.
stay strong. Don't do that.
I'm trying. I'm trying.
No, I meant everyone, not just you.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I think it was
Then
very, I mean, nice and easily flowing conversation. I mean, the people who
super
watch this,
organic.
yeah, super organic. They all know that I'm never preparing anything in advance. We
Yeah.
just,
Same here.
click live, go live, and just roll like this. So, so very happy that you could make it. So it was really
Thank you.
nice, and very solid advice. So yeah, I mean, be patient, everyone. Don't rush things, and everything will be fine. Like things will be happening eventually if you just put the work into it. Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, thank you very much. Take
Thank
care.
you.
And yeah, I'll meet everyone else in the next episode. Bye.
Bye bye.